On this week's Throwdown, Smiley Kylie demos the workout, and it's a repeat.
We've got shoulder to overhead, front squats, and box jump overs.
We release these workouts right here on YouTube every Thursday at 1 p.m.
What?
Join our entire community to practice the skill of competing.
Use the next 2 days to plan a strategy, grab some friends, and throw down on Saturday.
See where you stack up each week on our Throwdown leaderboard. It's free to sign up. Go to trainingthinktank.com/throwdown.
This week's workout is a repeat of Throwdown 10. 4 rounds per time of 20 shoulder to overhead, 15 front squats.
I don't remember the workout.
It's a repeat that I wrote. And 20 box jump overs. The weight goes up each round. Make sure you add your own weight.
This workout is a repeat, and repeats. Can we restart this whole thing?
I think we're doing great.
All right, repeats are really important for this sport. Obviously, in the open, you have to repeat a workout just to be able to put up a good score if you want to try to qualify for something.
And then you have to repeat it again, and then if you're Travis, you have to repeat it again.
Yeah,
right?
so
at least 4.
But it's also important just for like measuring yourself in a very chaotic sport. It's very easy to just get in the rhythm of doing Metcons and not really knowing if you're making progress. So we threw in a repeat into our Throwdown series for those of you who've been doing it for a long period of time just to see if you're getting better.
Yeah, it's very clear and objective of if you are getting better at that test. That doesn't mean you may not be more fit or less fit, but I think it's important that we test and retest, and so that's why we're doing this. Make sure you grab a judge, hold yourself to a high standard. For the movement standards this week, on the shoulder overhead, you can do those any way that you'd like, but make sure you're full extension at the top of each rep. For the front squats, again, you clean it from the ground, hip crease below the knee, stand up at the top of each rep, and then the box jumps you can do any way that you like, but a 2-foot takeoff must happen.
This week's demo is Kylie. You guys have seen Kylie before in the demo. She's a sanctional level team athlete, really good at gymnastic skills, been putting a lot of work on her strength development. We'll see how she does today.
I think she's going to crush it. This week we're starting a new training path in the design.
Cycle.
Training cycle. That's why I need you, Max.
Yeah,
I need you to help me.
that's why I'm here.
We have a new training cycle starting the design this upcoming Monday. We have new coaches writing the different paths, so we'll add some different variants to each of those. And hopefully you can join us. Go to trainingthinktank.com/design.
And we have put a video up explaining what the training direction of those new cycles is. Also on the Corpus Animus podcast this week, me and Kyle did a Q&A. Next week, as a little teaser, we're bringing on the pasty warrior, Travis Mayer, for the first time to talk about junk volume.
So pasty.
Let's go see Kylie's strategy.
So this is gonna be my repeat of this throwdown workout. Last time I did it a year ago, I got 18 shoulder to overhead into the set of 145. And I think whenever I did it, I tried to go really big on the 95 and 105 pound bars, and I completely destroyed myself before even getting to the third bar. Even whenever I wrote down my score, sending it to Ryan, I literally said I died on this workout. So I remember that I just went out way too hot. So this year, I'm going to try to go in 3 sets for my shoulder to overhead, 2 sets on my front squats, and then kind of pace my burpee box jump overs a little bit better than what I did before. And then hopefully actually finish the workout this year. So. I was just informed that it's not burpee box jump overs, it is regular box jump overs. So this just got a lot better.
That would be a lot worse.
That'd be so many.
So 54 weeks later, we're going to repeat a workout for the first time.
Yes, we are.
So excited.
And it was a workout that was written by our most creative coach. So.
Yes, the best coach.
Oh.
I appreciate the kind comments, Mia.
Yeah.
About myself. So Kylie has gotten so much stronger this past year. Just some context on her. It's her, I guess, transformation has been pretty remarkable.
Strength transformation?
Yeah.
Yeah, she definitely has, just watching her lift. But for those watching, strength does not necessarily mean endurance in workouts like this. You got to make sure that you're training both.
That's why we're watching to find out if it transfers into both for her.
This workout, I remember I did it, and it was the first bar. I was like, oh, this is going to be super easy. And you get in the second one, it's like, oh, a little bit slower. And then you get to the third bar, and that's like really where the grind is. So I'm interested to see how she does there.
Yeah, this workout exposes a bunch of different potential movement limitations because there's shoulder to overhead, which a lot of people can't breathe in, squatting, which a lot of people really struggle with, when like certain people specifically, and then repetitive jumping. So it kind of targets 3 totally different styles of movement limitations, then puts them all together in a high rep workout. So I feel like this one gets hard for almost anybody of any skill level.
Yeah, for sure. I remember thinking that the box jumps were the hardest. Probably seems silly to most people, but by the third round, I was doing single box jumps.
I mean, it's 80 reps of box jump overs.
Yeah,
so
That's very creative math.
I think there's two different ways that you could look at this. So like like Travis, since he's walking in the background right now, he's really good at box jump overs. He may be someone that just wants to like sprint those and then take a longer break before he starts the shoulder overhead. For someone like me, let's say, who's not very good at jumping, or at least that it fatigues them a ton, you create a lot of tension, you're not breathing, something like Kylie's doing might be a better option, and then try to attack the barbell a little bit more.
Yeah, so this strategy, even if you just look at where her hips are when she's jumping to where she is on top of the box, there's not a much center of gravity elevation. She's not really jumping over the box. She's kind of pulling her knees up, landing in a squat, stepping off. So it probably blows your legs up more, but I think a lot of people that are not as good jumping resort to that. That strategy is a little bit slower, but way less fatiguing, whereas somebody like Mia, who's much more like springy and has good rebounding mechanics, would probably be bounding, and if you actually watched her hips and her center of gravity, she'd be rising way up on top of the box and landing in a little bit more of a standing position than the bottom of a squat. So it's kind of like athlete dependent.
Yeah, I remember doing this workout. I tried doing that low bounding where you stay on your toes and keep your hips super low, and after like 6 or 8 reps of the set, I was already like, that's not a good idea. So I would do the bounding, stand up more, and kind of breathe on top of the box.
Yeah, one other thing, I know this gets me a lot, is repeated shoulder to overhead and jumping together explodes my calves. I don't think I really ever realized like how much force you put through the ground through your ankle when you're trying to do push presses or push jerks, but it makes a big difference.
Yeah, mine's my quads, but I think it's because my knees don't really go forward. So I'm like just pressing with my hips. But same thing, I think it's something you got to think about. The other thing too, you notice she did all of her box jumps in a row and then came and changed her weights. One of the things that you guys at home can think about is maybe doing, if you're not comfortable with box jumps especially, doing 10 quickly, changing one side, doing another 10, then changing, just so you're kind of adding in those rest breaks with things that you already have to do with changing the weights.
Yeah, those weight jumping style workouts like 17.3, 16.2, which is also 19.2, using the weight change, if you have to change your own weights.
You mean the workouts where people change the weights for you?
if you have, what workouts did we have to change your own weights in?
I think like if you go further back
like
in years of the Open,
deadlift?
It seems like they've kind of moved away from that.
I just dated myself. Yeah,
that's okay. I remember those, and you have to change it.
In those, if you do have to change your own weights, it makes a substantial difference to use that as your rest time, so that way you're not like working and then feeling rushed to change your weights as if it's like taking up time in the workout, if it's just a planned strategic change.
One of the other things that I remember thinking before I did this workout was smaller sets in the front squats, but really fast reps because I wanted less time under tension. So if you're comfortable with front squatting fast, I would do, whatever it is, fast 5s or 10, then 5-5 in the lighter bars at least, and that really helped me.
Yeah, what you just watched Kylie do, she did 3 reps pretty fast and then took that like pause break at the top, then 2 reps pretty quick, then a pause break at the top, then 1 rep and dropped it. If you can do your reps in some sort of a sequence like that and figure out your breathing structure where you're going quickly through reps and not doing 1 rep, standing, taking a breath, 1 rep, standing, taking a breath, that can really cut down on the total amount of time it takes to get through a barbell set when it's front squats.
You can tell here she's already starting to feel the
effects.
Yeah.
This is what my box jumps look like by probably the first round, actually, now that I think about it.
So just some context, it is hot in Georgia. It was probably 95 to 100 degrees and a lot of humidity. We did get a big ass fan that's right above her, but I don't think it really makes that much of a difference because when you're trying to do a 20-minute workout in this kind of heat, it just gets oppressive really quickly. So might impact, depending on where you are right now, how you can strategize on an endurance-based workout.
Yeah, I think your point here, this would be a really good time to work in a weight change. Like if you can get to the box and knock out 10 mentally, that's a little bit easier to maybe you can move quickly through that and then you get a little break.
Yeah.
So I think definitely take advantage of that.
Yeah, even after, I think she just finished all 20, but after 19, she just kind of took a break on that side of the box and it was like 4 seconds. So if you know that you're going to do that, you would be beneficial to go like 6 fast, weight change, 6 fast, weight change, 4 fast, and then step up to your bar and go to the next movement or something, because you probably save overall time on the workout depending on how you're set up.
Yeah. Going back to the heat thing too, I think just this is personal experience because I had knee surgery, I took some time off, and then I came back and I started doing some conditioning work, and I noticed that it just went from like springtime here to summertime really fast, and I was not acclimated to the heat. So for those that are training and trying to do these kind of testers, you also probably want to think about the times that you're doing that. If you're doing all your training in a cool time and you come in and do a tester when it's super, super hot, hot, that's always going to affect your performance. And so as we kind of turn the corner into qualifier season, if it's a place where it's still super hot, make sure that you're at least training at that time or find cooler times to do your testing.
Yeah, that's why I'm really hoping for a February Open and going back to that, because it's way easier to do endurance work.
It's not that hot here in October.
Yes, it is, Mia.
There was one warm week, and then I'm pretty sure I warmed up in a sweatshirt for the rest of the workouts.
Last year, you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. The first couple weeks were still pretty warm, but nothing like this. The idea still stands, though, I think, during qualifier seasons, which, this time of year, there still would be some of those. Make sure you're thinking about that, not just going in and testing when it's super hot.
Yeah. Back to the workout. She finished 2 rounds, and she was like around 610, 620. And this workout, as it escalates in weight, it doesn't change the rep scheme, which means that you're going to do a lot more work in the later half of this workout, which is reflected. I mean, obviously with the 22-minute time cap, if she's 6 minutes in with 2 rounds done, that means she's on about a 3-minute round average, which would mean about 12 minutes to finish. But you could tell even just in the shoulder to overhead, she's still on them, and we're already almost 2 minutes into this. So obviously you're going to plan in that you're going to be slowing down, and you can't really think about the rounds being linear in terms of the time that they're going to take.
Yeah, they definitely won't. And so there's still an advantage to going faster in your first few rounds. I know she said she was going to break it up more, which I think is very wise, but don't try to plan those to be 6-minute rounds and say each one's going to be, 5-5 or 6-6, 5-5, whatever.
Yeah, you might be able to say like, all right, it's going to be a 2-minute round, a 3:30 round, a 6-minute round, or something like that, where you're actually planning that they're going to get way slower, because heavy barbell cycling under fatigue is way, way harder than light barbell cycling when you're fresh.
Especially these 2 movements, because you can't do singles, so you have to, rack the bar, hold a brace, breathe while you're bracing. I just think that these 2 are pretty challenging, heavy movements to do within a workout. If it's something like a clean or a snatch where you can kind of find a rhythm here.
You can do singles and breathe between them, yeah. That's a very creative application of barbell cycling into Metcon.
I know, I'm so good at programming.
So you notice she went straight from shoulder overhead into the front squat. She saved 3 shoulder overhead to finish and then went right in. I think that's probably a good idea if you're having to break your shoulder overhead.
And then into a small set of front squats.
Yeah. Yes.
So you can tell, I think you can also just tell like posture, respiration rate, all of that stuff. You can tell she's hurting a lot, and it's not that deep into the workout. We were just a little bit over halfway, so this is really where the crux of the workout. I don't remember specifically doing this, but thinking about this workout, I feel like that second or that third barbell is really the one that's going to break a lot of people. When you get into that last one, it's going to slow you down a lot, but it's heavy, and you know that once you get through it, you're done with that movement. This one, you get through that whole round, and you're like, all right, well, I got another one of those, and it's heavier than this, and you're already messed up. So this one, I feel like, is this is where the psychological war is won.
I very much agree.
For me. All Metcons for me are wars. Don't quit.
I agree 100%. And this is what I said at the beginning of this, is the third bar was the one that was the most challenging for me, because it was like, you got to get through this and you still have another bar. But what I did, and this won't work for most people, I don't think, unless you have good strength endurance. I did really small sets, but like short breaks. So I was doing like sets of 3 or 4 on my front squats, but I was only taking 10-second breaks each time. That's tough, and my heart rate definitely exploded after it, but I got it done really quickly, and then I took my long breaks in the last bar.
All right, so we're done with the front squats. Moving on to the box jumps in round 3. You could also notice Brandon's back to squatting after his knee surgery.
Brandon.
Over there doing
It's
some
just a
wall
little
balls.
bit above parallel, but I'm almost there.
Yeah,
Look at you.
You're doing it. Yeah, so she's starting
2
with
and a
2
break,
box
so
jumps.
she's hurting.
Yeah, you could tell. This is a hard workout and at a hard time to do it. So props to her for retesting this.
Yeah, and she got pulled into it last minute too.
Yeah.
Kylie's a trooper for sure.
I also like to point out John is working out as well. He's my training partner.
I'm in the back working out with Mike.
I've just seen you walking. I haven't seen you,
You
do
haven't done
anything.
anything yet.
I'm toweling myself off. I'm sweating by just standing there. All right, so what types of strategies do you use mentally if you're in this type of a situation where, like I've been here, where you're doing 2 or 3 reps and then taking 5 to 10 second breaks? Like, you can't be doing that if you want to put up like an elite score on a workout. What do you do to try to get yourself into a rhythm where you're just working quicker or resting less? Like maybe some psychological tips. Not to say that this is slow. I mean, I think her score is still going to be really hard to beat, but a competitive athlete in maybe a little bit less oppressive conditions would beat this score, I would imagine, pretty substantially.
So I always think just focus on my next set. So if I approach the box jumps, I just think get to 6, and then I take my break. All right, now get to 12, and that usually helps me, not freak out about the set. I've already said this, but I really think that using the plate change as a mental milestone here would be a really smart decision.
Yeah, the plate change definitely would help. I agree with you, Mia. I like small sets and then shorter rest breaks. But for some people, again, it could be just like you're trying to create almost like a cyclical pattern. So maybe it's you're doing a rep, deep breath in the box, rebound, deep breath in the box. So they're still relatively slow, but you're moving the entire time. That's another option.
Yeah. The option 2, which is probably not the one I would recommend, if you know that box jumps are going to really blow you up and you're going to be, what Kylie did there was basically doing like 3s, 2s, and 1s with long breaks between, is just pick a very slow and methodical rhythm and just go through all 20 in a row. Like jump over, step off, take 2 deep breaths, and just keep working back and forth. So that way you don't have those 5 to 10 second long breaks where you're putting your hands on the box. It's obviously not going to be the best way to get an elite score, but it's a way to get through that period of work in a little bit faster of a format without like blowing yourself up. So I've always had to come up with strategies like that to try to convince myself to keep moving if I can't go fast, because I'm assuming she's pretty redlined and still has a whole round at this heavy barbell.
So she has, when she started, 9 minutes when she was changing the weight. So 9 minutes to this last round. But again, like you said, maybe the first round's 2.5 minutes, then 3.5 minutes, then 6. Well, this last one obviously is going to be the longest. You got to prepare for that.
Yeah, so we started at what, 13:20-ish?
She opened with 3, I think it was.
Yeah,
they look pretty strong, but it probably feels very heavy at this point.
Yeah, it's feeling real. That's something Brandon always says. Like, I remember barbell cycling and seeing a barbell move quickly. I'm like, man, it did not feel like that. It felt so heavy. That can really play a role in your psychology in doing reps. Like, she's still, her lockout's really tight, her movement's really good. So I think at this point it's really just about getting through this with limited rest if she's doing triples there. So, if she was doing this as a qualifier and then retesting, this is probably what you'd look at to try to evaluate and give her like, all right, it took you, 20 seconds to do rest between your triples. Let's try to take that to 15 or 16 next time you do it. And you do that for all your breaks. You're talking about cutting off another 30 seconds in the workout.
I feel like all of your movements are fast until they're not. Like you're just like always just everything's so crisp.
Until they're not.
And then it's just like you're on the ground.
Caveat.
That's the opposite of me.
Just slow and steady.
Never fast.
Only your handstand walks.
No, I'm pretty slow. Slow
Lot
and
of
smooth,
creative
but it's
programmer.
enough to beat Max. So.
We'll find out soon.
Yikes.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
So this is a workout that I would love to, like, if it were an open or a qualifier, watch it, do a video review, and then execute it with someone next to me telling me exactly when to go. I think that you can, like, there's a lot of time wasted just being like, oh crap, I have so much left.
Yeah.
But when you do a workout and then retest it with a plan, I think it's a lot easier mentally if you have a buddy there or your judge telling you just when to go, when to rest. You also have to be responsive to that and also do what they tell you to do. But if you I don't know how many people would have this, but if you happen to have a video of your first attempt, that could be a fun way and fun for me.
If you really love to do that and have some fun, I'd be happy to film you when you do this throwdown this week and we can retest it, make a video for the people.
I mean, that would be great, but I have to demo your awful throwdown this weekend.
That's true.
I would rather do this.
Got some fun ones coming up. Just watching her, the place where she could make up the most time, the easiest would be on the box. right? So
Yeah.
like the box jumps just were too slow for where she's at. And I know that bounding is really tough in this workout, but that would be the first thing that I would tell her. And I know Ryan talked to her about that as her coach. But then obviously this last bar, it's hard to say, well, you need to go every 30 seconds because once you get there and how heavy that is, it's just really tough to be able to brace and still do the reps. So that's something that's probably needs to be trained more. But on the box, it's just something like we're going to do 5 reps really fast, then take a break, 5 reps really fast, and whatever. And you can probably make up 2 minutes for her.
Yeah, and I think too, working on the position and technique with which it's done in terms of like how the step off is done, what the footwork is, what the pivot is. When you start to get really messed up and you have a movement that requires jumping up, landing on your toes, rotating halfway up on top of a box when you're 20 inches off the ground, stepping off with one leg, it doesn't seem like it, but there's a lot of coordination and timing involved with that. And when you start to get tired and you're breathing heavy and you're really hot, you don't realize like how easily you could fall off the box or clip your shin. And there's governors inside your body that basically, slow you down. So I think practicing that technique and refining exactly what it's going to look like can be very helpful in your warm-ups and your cool downs. If you're somebody that's box jump limited, just working on those little details so that way when you get into a very fatigued state like this, it's automatic, and that can save so much time in the execution if you can just do 5 really good ones, break, 5 really good ones, break, as opposed to 3 that are kind of sloppy and you realize they're sloppy and you take a long break and then 2 and then a long break and then 1. That time just adds up so much.
Yeah, and along those same lines too, try different styles. So like you already mentioned, hips a little bit higher with the rebound or just hips higher with the step down, which is kind of what I do so I don't have to bend my knees as much, versus that soft kind of full squat stance, and see which one may work. And the other thing too is maybe both of them in a workout. Maybe it's 5 where you're dropping all the way into the bottom of a squat and rebounding, and then 5 with your hips higher. Different variations will hopefully kind of change the fatigue pathway.
All right. We have been almost 5 minutes. She's still on the shoulder to overhead, right? Mm-hmm. All right, so almost 5 minutes.
She may be done with them, but
yeah, she might be starting her front squats, or she has a couple shoulder to overhead into the front squats. Let's see. Yeah.
Okay. And now it looks like
okay, so she had 1 left. So it took about 5 minutes to do the shoulder to overhead. She is pretty good at barbell cycling, pretty strong relative to this weight. I mean, there's probably people who are stronger overhead, but I don't think her strength is the major limitation here. Mm-hmm. So that just gives context. That 1 round of 20 shoulder to overhead took longer than, or almost as long as the whole first 2 rounds of the workouts. Gives some perspective on really where you can separate yourself on a workout like this and what's going to hold most people back. A lot of people when we did this got time capped. So it's something that you should expect that these barbells and getting through these barbells quickly. And if you're not somebody that can move this really well, getting there as quickly as possible to give yourself time to do singles and doubles or small sets is going to be very valuable for separating yourself on the leaderboard. There you go. All right, and then the front squats. This seems like the most comfortable movement for her of the 3 that are in this triplet. She's still doing pretty good sets, still moving it. She seems to be still breathing pretty well.
So another set of 5. She's got 10 done.
Just looking at the clock. She knows her time cap is coming.
You got it, Kylie.
Yeah, it's a tough part of the workout when you have to speed it up, but the front squat feels so heavy.
I wish we could get Chris's cheering in here because he was cheering. He was a very encouraging He was in his production cameraman role and also fan role. So
however,
very good.
Chris only cheers when you're doing when you're really struggling. So it's thanks for cheering, but also crap.
Thanks for cheering, but I know that this is not a good sign.
He has never cheered for me, so that's good.
Yeah, that means you're never suffering.
Yeah, Brandon's always doing good.
No. So then a 3. Get back on the bar quickly, finish the set.
Yeah, she's very struggling.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, yes, that was proper English as well. Oh, man, that's such a tough feeling when your heart rate is that elevated and you're hot doing repeated heavy front squats.
She's got 90 seconds to do it, right? Or is it 20?
Yeah, 22-minute time cap.
Yep.
Come on,
Started
Kylie.
with 3.
Keep a rhythm, let's go.
Yeah, so you could see like their rhythm got completely off, and she landed too close to this edge of the box, almost kind of fell off and lost her balance on the other side, and then took a long break. So that's what I was talking about with regards to having a more refined technique that your brain can kind of rely on when you start to get into this state where you're like, I gotta get it done, I gotta go fast to beat the time cap. I mean, you know, she's doing a great job.
Or even having
moving
like
quicker.
a backup technique.
Yeah,
like what you go to when your first technique fails.
When the wheels are falling
Yeah.
off. Yeah, I mean, you could see even just the wobble from side to side. Like, she's
Yeah.
working really hard to get this done. And that's obviously not the most efficient pattern. And it's, you know, it slows her down, requires a little bit more breaks. But she's still moving a lot better in this set of 20 than the other ones. Yeah.
Yay, she did it.
All right, beat the time cap, beat her last time.
By a lot, too,
Yeah, by a
right?
lot.
18 shoulder overhead last
Yeah.
time, was able to finish the
So
workout.
if you do the throwdown for a year, you get way fitter, right?
Yeah, I guess. well done, Kylie. Thanks for demoing. Project Pat, you know the deal.
It's a wrap, you know what I'm saying? Your boy Project Pata in this thing, man. Hey, look, man, thank y'all for watching Training Think Tank YouTube channel. Y'all hit that motherfucking subscribe button, you know what I'm saying? So y'all go ahead, man. Thank y'all for watching the channel, you know what I'm saying? Hit that motherfucking subscribe button, let it be known, what it be known, what it be known, you know what I'm saying? Pata.